Welcome back. 2024 F1 season. Myself and F1 Capper. I know you already did an episode with Lights Out, actually two episodes, discussing future markets. What are we expecting to of the new season? But here we are after testing is done, and I'm gonna be completely transparent. I probably watched maybe 10 minutes of it. I did watch some highlights. I did watch all the results. Read about lots of articles, so I kind of know what's going on, what happened. But I'm not really big into testing. But what about you, Kepper? How was your weekend? How is everything going with you?
Good man. Well, yeah, like to your point, it's exciting when they were starting. What was it on Wednesday?
When
Was
Wednesday morning, yeah,
Wednesday morning, obviously 2
our
a.m.
time,
I wasn't
yeah,
gonna be up. Yeah, I wasn't gonna be up for that. So,
yeah.
I mean, obviously leading up to it, super excited, super pumped, and then it's just kind of you get into it and you're like, well, there's not really much to do here. Just watching the cars go by. They might be just, it's like FP1 light. They're just doing so much. You, uh, and I don't care what anyone says. There's a lot of tech guys out there that are posting about like the differences and all that. Okay, great. You might be able to find something there, but let's be real. I mean, we've talked about this about FP1. You know, take it lightly because that they're testing. This is the same macro of all 3 days, right? They are going in, taking advantage of every moment to dial in the car, and they're all not using like the extreme pace that they could be getting extracting out of the cars for qualifying or race, whatever it is they're testing. So I mean, it's really just 3 days of just crashing all they can from an engineering perspective and getting the car right before next weekend. So,
Well,
but yeah, it was exciting.
well, if you're a betting man, which I know you are, you probably are paying
A
more
little,
attention to it
a
than
little bit.
some other people are. Considering we had
You
Red
act,
Bull to have the fastest
I
lap.
would wake up in the morning and that's the first thing I would check on my phone is like what's going on, and then I would go to F1 TV really quick. I literally would just as soon as I roll out of bed, F1 TV app, I'm just like let's just kind of see what's happening, and then as I'm getting my morning started and everything, I'm just glancing, but there's not really much you can take from it. However, yes, so you can maybe see the story, but this goes back to the podcast I had with Light and F1 Bet Tipster. The approach taking into testing, we said, I don't think a whole lot is going to change our minds. Like
No.
we have this mindset coming in already. It's not going to differ a whole lot from last year. However, the gap will close in a bit on a lot of these teams. Um, you're seeing some of the people in Twitter saying, "Oh, maybe they're closing in on Max." We don't know. Like, no one's showing their true cards yet, so we don't. Um, but yeah, you
and
can make some assumptions.
and that happens every testing season when we're, oh man, this team is sandbagging, this team is sandbagging, and like really, I mean, I have to be honest. 2022 season, we're all like, oh yeah, Mercedes is so slow. They don't know what's, like they're just trying to, trick us here. And man, that car was terrible. I mean, like you remember the start of the 2022 season. So,
Oh yeah.
again, overreaction. Of course, there's a lot of overreaction in the market as well, as we already seen some odds shift, for certain drivers, for certain teams. And is there, like looking at the testing in the last 3 days, how would you rank your top three teams based on what you've
Yeah,
seen? Not even, I'm not asking you to go into deep dive, like just what you think is the top three teams right now.
I mean, right now, like after testing, what my initial gut thought, I guess, whatever you want to call it, the only difference I would say in is I kind of see Mercedes maybe doing
No
about the
bias
same.
there. No bias, right?
No bias,
Yep.
no bias at all. No bias. Um, Maybe being a little bit better than I anticipated, so it might be really putting a lot of pressure on McLaren. Um, but that's about it. I mean, even just before testing and all that, these were conversations I had with both Lights Out and F1 Bet Tipster, we were all aligned that we felt that Ferrari is going to be the second best team. But I do worry a little bit because now I'm seeing reports and all that. Again, I'm trying to tread lightly a little bit, but that hasn't, and that's where makes me nervous about the bet we made too. Is, I think the common theme is Mercedes is still struggling a little bit with extracting that qualifying pace, but their race pace is looking extremely well. Okay, that's always been their trend. Like they just can't get the car right for qualifying, but race trim looks absolutely superb. Ferrari seems like they're just getting better and better, but just to go back to your question, I would say the only difference is it's not so much Mercedes as much as it's McLaren. I'm just not entirely sure how are they going to start the season? And it could be the same way as last year, where they kind of had these early struggles, but as the season goes along, they might find it. Also, it's going to depend on track characteristics too, because that seems like the problem with McLaren and Mercedes is they're very track dependent. So
Yeah,
we're about
you
to
gotta be
see.
worried on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was reading an article here, from one of the big websites, motorsport websites, and they did say that what you just said, that the Ferrari has finally found that,
Yeah.
like, to be really good, like they were doing this race simulation during the testing, and they seemed good for throughout the whole race, so which
Yep.
was something that they had issues with reliability as previous years. So maybe something to keep an eye on. Maybe they're. I mean, I'm not Ferrari guy, but maybe they're the closest one to Red Bull. So
Well, yeah,
you are a Ferrari fan now.
maybe tomorrow, maybe not tomorrow. Next year, I will be a Tifosi, but okay. Listen, I've always said this to everyone. It's hard not to like Ferrari when you're growing up as a kid. That's a brand. If you are into cars, that's a brand that is just recognizable to every little kid,
And
right?
Michael
So
Schumacher too. So that's
right. If you're as
F1
old as
fan.
us,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But it's hard not to like them. I don't dislike them, but I don't like love them as a team.
Yeah.
But I have no qualms with them. But yeah, to go back to your point about Ferrari, and again, this goes back to these discussions we've had in the Discord, which is we've all been a believer in F1 and or Ferrari, and it's because you saw in 2022 they were strong. I mean, you were like, whoa, they might actually
The first
compete
six, seven,
again.
eight races was,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And then season they just had their failures, right? Strategy, communication,
reliability. Yeah.
everything just went downhill. Early season into 2023, obviously there's struggles, but you would expect that, right? Things have changed and they made all those changes within Ferrari to then you look at the way they ended last season and they were kind of coming along. And even Leclerc, people keep forgetting, Leclerc struggled early on but was finding it towards the end of the season. He was getting more comfortable with the car. So that just right there shows there was positivity in how they were actually taking their approach. Now, of course, we can sit here and make jokes, all that, but as a betting man, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I said they will probably be the second best team in this because they have everything. They have the operations, number one. They just do. Like that's hands down one of the best operations that you can have. And number two, they have a car that has every type of track characteristic you can want for the car to be for that track characteristic. High speed, slow speed corners. Now it just really kind of like dependent on the driver, right? So Sainz might struggle at times on certain tracks, but on some of these tracks, Leclerc, same thing. But they have the car that can fit just about every type of track characteristic. How can it compete with Red Bull? That time will tell.
Well, now that you're mentioning this, and here comes my next question to you. More, like, you're saying that the Ferraris are the closest ones to Red Bull. Would you, if you're a betting man, which you are, would you take Charles Leclerc to be the winner without Max? It's at plus
Yeah,
two twenty
yeah.
five. So what are your expectations
Well,
of Sergio
well,
though? I guess I have to ask
here,
that.
here, here okay. Let me step back. Leclerc at his current odds, I would probably, I would consider it. yes, but I'm also in this little, situation where I got better odds for both Ferraris, but technically speaking, you're kind of expecting Leclerc to do better than Sainz.
Science,
So,
yeah.
so yes, I think I would take that. I just can't trust Checo, man. I just can't. I'm,
He's got his
you
moments.
know,
He's got his special, like you said. He's a track specific kind of a guy. He does
yeah.
well on certain tracks versus others. So
And there's just something about him in that car that he just seems very hit or miss. I don't know. Maybe he changes that, and I'm actually rooting for him to be better than what he's
I
been like
mean, he
since
is
the second
fighting
year.
for his seat. So
Right,
we
but
don't
I
know.
just don't see it. I just don't see it. I'm not gonna, and as a betting man, I'm not gonna bet on him. I would rather bet on Leclerc. And you know me, I am one of the most outspoken guys about bashing Leclerc and his abilities. But like I've said in the past, it's not that Leclerc is a bad driver. He just has his moments where you're like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I know some of it's not his fault, but there was a lot of times it was his fault.
Yeah.
So I just think that Leclerc can put it together better than Checo, and then the situation too, like you pointed out, it's just so much better for Leclerc. It's not going to be as there's going to be pressure on him, of course. He's with Ferrari, but I think there's way more pressure on Checo to perform, especially with having you have Max that you have to try to be within. You got to be within 4 to 6 tenths. You can't be 1 second slower than Max. That's not in the cards. You can't do that because the car is supposed to be superior. So
Yeah. And it has been. Yeah. No, no, you're right. Well, with that, with that said, is you want to just go over a couple futures bets here? What is something that you see now after the testing is done that you like that you're gonna bet, or you're just giving out picks for the people who might want to tail? What is something that you like here after the testing is complete now?
one that I've actually been eyeing is this is this is gonna be tough because I love McLaren and obviously love Mercedes. I just don't still see why McLaren is favorite on the season bet. Of course, this is
Yeah,
future.
team, like team
McLaren,
versus
yeah,
team. Yeah, okay, yep,
yes,
okay,
yeah, like when they add up team points
yeah,
and all
yeah, yeah.
that, like
Of course,
yeah, constructor.
yeah.
Uh,
Know what you mean?
Mercedes is even money still to McLaren, which is kind of odd to me. I just kind of see them that it shouldn't be even money. It should be closer to like a minus 115,
Mm-hmm.
some minus 120 at some books, whatever you want to. Like they should be even odds together. Like pick one, right?
Yeah,
So I feel like you could still not have to pay the juice on that. That was one that was catching my attention. I would say Ferrari over McLaren also is very interesting, though it's a little bit too much for me to want to say, yeah, I'll go in on that. But that's also because I have a few bets on Ferrari, and I don't want to keep loading up on Ferrari season bets.
yeah. Like you don't
So
want all your eggs in one basket, right? Yeah,
I
I
would
know what
say
you mean.
those are the two that have really caught my attention from a constructor standing. As far as like drivers championships, unfortunately, like some of these, it's just it's tough to want to say, okay, so driver to win one plus race, so just they've got to win one. I mean, there's not really much I would
No,
want to take there, so I would just kind of avoid that. But I have been interested in this Piastri over Alonso, which Alonso is kind of a bigger favorite in this.
yeah,
That's been a team that's been kind of quiet going in. I don't know if they're just trying to keep it quiet for reasons that they know they have something good, or is it they really don't know what they got?
yeah,
Uh, but seeing the progression, and again, I'm going back to last year, going into this year, and yes, I did say McLaren might have their early season struggles. I don't think it'll be like last year where it was that bad, where we thought they were like one of the worst teams, and then all of a sudden became one of the best. I think it's just going to be ups and downs. So if you're going to give me ups and downs for a McLaren, we saw the same thing with Aston Martin. I'd be putting my money more on Aston Martin, or I'm sorry, McLaren over Aston Martin. So it's worth the shot. I just full disclosure, I haven't done it,
Yeah.
but I'm just,
It's you're just giving up just what you
just
see
I
that
would
might
say
happen.
like, yeah, but like Oscar Piastri plus 130. I mean, uh, why not?
He
Like
showed a lot of promise last year for a rookie. He really did
yeah,
amazing, you know. So
yeah, yeah. That was one of them, and then probably I don't think they have that anymore. I know that Daniel Ricciardo over Yuki. Take your chance if you want to. I know a few guys, F1 Bet Tipster, and I think Lights Out had that bet. I'm not sure if they actually cashed it out, to be honest with you.
I was gonna say F1 bet Hesh is gonna like me here because I actually like Yuki over Dan for the
You
season
do?
bet because it's not more because I know it's not a popular thing and I know Yuki
Oh,
doesn't get as much love, but I feel like Yuki has done fairly well last year. Yes, of course it wasn't the points and stuff, but I think that he had so many races where he was in the top six for a majority of the races. Maybe something happens, strategy, whatever the case is, but Yuki's fighting for that seat. Maybe not
yeah.
AlphaTauri or whatever Cash App, whatever they are called now. Actually, we have to settle that also. What are we gonna
Yeah.
call AlphaTauri? But that'll be like later on. I feel like Yuki is fighting for his seat where Daniel Ricciardo kind of has like okay, no matter how well I do or how bad I do, I think I have a seat in F1. If it's not with, well, I know essentially he wants to go to Red Bull, right? But
Yeah.
I feel like he feels more safe, and Yuki knows that this is it. This is his last chance to make it. Like in my opinion, and I do like Yuki, and we see
Hey,
that the
listen,
car is pretty good.
I, don't- I haven't touched that. And
Yeah,
there's the reason why. It's because I'm like, what if Yuki has finally found a groove with this car? I mean, he's at times showed he can drive the car, but he's like the Leclerc of the lower seeded teams. He
yeah,
just, what are you doing moments, right? There are times like that. I don't blame you for that one.
yeah.
I don't want to touch it because of that reason. Like, I just don't know which way it could go. But to answer your question, what do we call them?
Yes.
I'm just gonna call them whoever's winning over the other on the team. I'm just gonna call him that. So if Daniel Ricciardo is ahead of Yuki, I'm just gonna call him the Danny Ricks.
Oh, then you're
If
right.
they're if it's gonna be Yuki over Danny, I'm just gonna call them the Yukis. That's
Yeah.
it. Like that's why don't we just keep it that way?
Yeah, and you know,
Like
I've been like watching people on social media going like, "Oh, we're gonna call them the RBs and the racing bulls, or we're gonna be this and this," and
the
it's like,
Toro Rosso,
and
like
and,
the
and I'm like, call them cash apps,
Minardi
whatever. Yeah,
Racing.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly that. And but no, that's one of those things. It's like like what do you call AlphaTauri? Do you call him Sauber? Do you call him Steak? Do you call him Kick? The same thing there. But yes, I like what you're saying. So for our
yeah.
podcast, we're gonna be referring them to whoever's leading in the team
I'm just gonna do
standings.
that. Yeah, the Danny Ricks or the Yukis.
Yeah, there you go. I like that a lot. Yeah, and but another, I know I cut you off for the Yuki one. I apologize. Do you have any other driver ones? Because I have one for later. If you don't have any,
And in full disclosure, I haven't bet any of these,
yeah,
but these were ones
same.
I
I
just
haven't done
like.
it yet either. Yeah,
Um, and there's a reason why. I'm not a big futures guy, even in any sport
same.
betting. You know me, like if I find one, I will do it, and I'll put. I just don't want my money to be held up for all season when I could be just playing those implied odds throughout the year somehow, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh, the only other one was maybe Russell over Signs. If the hype is Mercedes does have a competitive car, they still have. If we see the same crap as we did last year, better in race, poor qualifying, we could maybe see a similar situation that Russell might be feeling better in the car and he might be ahead of Signs by the end of the year. That's probably the only other one. Other than that, like the odds just don't. I don't want to put money on a huge favorite.
Minus
100,
150.
100 to win $100, I gotta put 200. Like, I don't want to do that.
No,
Just
and it's not a good investment for the next 9 months.
yeah, yeah.
It's not.
We got to go until December now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
true,
I don't.
true. Yeah, yeah. No. Well, one I like, and you kind of already touched point on him. It's the George, but I like him over Lewis. The
I
only
don't have. I
no,
I think
they took it off because I think they're gonna adjust the odds. But as of like 3 4 days ago, that was like plus 140, and I just think that Mercedes is gonna prioritize George before Lewis, and I feel like, I mean, we all know that Lewis is going to the Ferrari and stuff, but I feel like they want to get George the best car out there. They wanna like just get the most out of him. They're gonna prioritize him. Any new updates are gonna be done on George's cars first. I assume, I'm expecting that to be, because even though George is not the number one driver this season, he will be next year. I feel like they're kind of like looking into the future as well. And this is honestly the only reason why. And we know that both the Mercedes drivers are very reliable and they have their moments. And George, we all know, can crush into anybody at any time. We know that. But and Lewis is one of the best drivers. 8-time world champion. I mean, 7-time world champion. You know what I mean. So it's one of those.
Yeah,
I don't mind it.
I I don't mind it either. I think that I don't know, and kind of go into that topic of like how are they going to prioritize the Mercedes seats? Yeah, I would expect that they're going to put a lot of more emphasis for Russell because they know Hamilton's going to be gone.
Yep.
Uh, I am very interested, and that's why I'm kind of shy to take on some of these Mercedes. But and like to your point, man, right before that news too, I was thinking about taking Leclerc over Lewis Hamilton in the season match bets, and I'm kind of kicking myself because I think it was like plus 150 on Bovada before the season, and Hamilton was like minus 200. That was crazy. I was
Yeah.
like, damn, I could have taken that because you never know, right? Like I don't know what to expect. But yeah, I do like that. I think sticking with Russell this year, especially if the car is what they're saying. They're saying it's getting a lot better, but this is the problem. I'm seeing mixed reports, and this is why I'm treading lightly. You're gonna see people posting reports of, oh, the car looks great, whatever, even from the data aspect, guys, like they're even showing it, cool. And then you see some people that were like really fine tuned into watching. They're like, wow, the rear is very snappy. And again, I don't know what to expect, but it's sounding that Mercedes is probably going to be in a similar situation as last year.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. No,
that's
no, it's good. And I got one that's a long shot. That I bet every year. Well, Pavada doesn't have him up yet. They took him off because I think they're just putting up. It's a requested bet like they always do. It's to have a safety car in every race, and it's 67-1. And I know that did not cash last year, but it did the year before. And I no virtual safety, only safety car. And it's a long shot. Of course, we have those boring races. It's not on there. All the requested bets are not on Pavada, but they will be up there, and it's gonna be. It hasn't moved since January. They have had it up since January.
why not?
You put $10 for $700. Why not?
Yeah.
Like it's one of those where you even forget you have it, and you're just rooting for a safety car. That's how. And that's just full courtesy. Don't put your house on it. Just do a beer money on it. And
They're already mortgaged the house. They better get a safety car. I'm flying to every race to make sure there's a safety car. I'm gonna
you throw a part on the track.
a fan oil guy. I'm just or flares, whatever.
Yeah.
There's capper.
Yeah. Oh man. No, that'll be something. But and yeah, and there was another thing that you mentioned to me when we spoke before this yesterday. I honestly am, again, full transparency. I did not know that the race was on Saturday next
Yes,
week.
the
I was like,
first two races of the year because Ramadan is starting on March 10th.
okay,
So the I mean, Bahrain, of course, and then you got Saudi
And
Arabia.
it's Sunday, yeah. Okay.
And I think the way they're trying to do it is, I mean, because it's back-to-back weekends,
Hmm.
right? I think it only makes sense. Bahrain could have been Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
That wasn't an issue. But for, you know,
Logistics.
the
Yeah.
logistics, because in Saudi Arabia, it's going to be March 7th through the 9th, which is going to be, again, Thursday through
It'll
Saturday.
be a lot
So,
of moving pieces to get through. I like even
yeah,
though
one less day, right?
the
Yeah.
proximity is close, but I know what you mean. Yeah, it makes sense. I totally get that.
And it kind of sucks for me because I thought that it was going to be Friday through Sunday for some reason, but I'm going to miss FP1 and 2. Well, no, FP2 for sure. But FP1 I should be able to still catch.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I don't know the times yet, local times, because if it's super early, I'm sorry, but I will not be able to.
No, well, I'll tell you, and this is Central Time, so
1 hour
this
ahead
is
of
so
behind me. Yeah.
on Thursday, practice one is going to be 5:30 to 6:30, so it's going to be 6:30 your time. Practice two will be from 9 to 10, which is awesome. It's
Which is good.
reasonable,
Yeah.
right? That's going to be 10
Yeah.
to 11 your time. And the next day on Friday,
Qualifying, right?
yeah, yeah, that's right. Friday, it's going to be practice threes at 6:30, so 7:30 your time, and then qualifying's from 10 to 11 or 11 to 12 your time.
Lunchtime.
That's neat.
Perfect.
I'm probably gonna have to maybe miss qualifying. We'll see. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe have to mute everyone and then go rewatch it myself.
Oh yeah, I have to do that from time to time because we talked this in the Discord that like it's one of those things like I used to be able to before we created the Discord. I used to be able to just like record the race, enjoy my Sunday night. I'll go in and turn on the race, enjoy it, and now I
I
can't
used
because
because of you clowns that want to hear us talk odd, but we love it.
I
What can I
know.
say? Yeah,
Same,
no, that's
same.
the way I used to be. I used to before I met you guys. I could just free flow. Oh, and another thing is I didn't even actually get all the market odds. So I was like, what am I? There's no point, right? I would only get Sunday odds, and that was it. And it was like an hour before a race or something.
Yeah,
Or I would see it like late Saturday night, place my bets. Wouldn't even like look at it until, sometimes Monday. I wouldn't even
yeah.
get to it. Sometimes Monday I would be like, all right, it's time to watch the race and see what happened with my bet.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was the same way, and I'm not gonna lie. I used to do the same thing. Oh shoot, Monday. Okay, let's watch it now. Totally,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah. With that said, I wanna do mention. The Discord is growing. We're up to 1,200 people in there. The community bet is gonna be back. Yeah, 20, 12, 12:30. I don't know how many it is now. But we are on the community bet. Like last year, we did pretty good. I mean, considering we started in 2022, we went 14-3. Last year, we went 13-7-1. One of those was avoided bet because I think one of the races was like somebody did not start. I can't remember, it was Charles or somebody. But still overall, we are 27-10 on the community bet. So make sure that if you guys are in the Discord, and if you're not, just get in the Discord. I always preach it. Lots of talk, lots of odds. Be the first one if you see an error in the market. Be able to grab the odds at like a better price. So if you're not in the Discord, please get in there. Community bet is up every Saturday. Considering the race is on Sunday. On Sunday we vote. We pick a winner based on votes, and then we all just hold hands, or we either cry or we celebrate.
You know what? I gotta say, I think the bets that we were losing the most in the community, because we did regress. I mean, having 2022, we went 14-3 on community bet, which was insane.
Yeah,
And a lot of it was probably Alpine top
Al-
10.
Alpine double points. Yeah,
Yeah, double points. And then this year, I think we regressed. I hope this is my message to everyone that is going to vote for community bets. Stop picking Checo. Stop it. Just
yeah.
stop. Don't pick Checo. Pick some real ones. All right, let's do it. All
Well,
right? We got a season. I'm auto betting these things.
yeah.
Guys, come on. Let's
And
do
the
better.
other the other one that we did was, I know that we bet one time. We bet Max to lead after the first 10 laps, whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
And of course, he led like lap 11. And every race, he was killing everybody. And of course, it was the race that we betted in. But no, it's a great community. It's growing. There's lots of very knowledgeable people in there, and it's not only F1; it's other sports too. We talk all kinds of like cricket guys here and there. Like, hey, if you like cricket, why not? Um, but yeah, well, do a little bit of closing here. I know that the race is coming up. I know we're gonna have another podcast with more in-depth odds because odds are not out yet.
Can't wait.
I know, and we have some Bahrain odds out there. I know there's not much out there. I really don't have much. I have a outlier winner, and I have a top three. And do you see anything on your end? Do you see anything that you might think that it's of value, or we're gonna just leave it on for later in the week?
Well, I would like to tee some up. No, I'm obviously not going to touch on the outrights, but I do want to make one call out that I did make mention in the Discord about the odds that change, because they posted these odds pre testing and then they posted them after. So outrights and top three in Bovada, which is really tracks similar to Bet365 for you guys. The biggest change that happened was Leclerc went from 14-1 outright odds to 9-1. Hamilton went from 14-1 to 20-1. The rest I just didn't care about. that was one. And then the top three, it was Lando went from minus 120 to even money. Sergio Perez went from minus 125 to plus 115. That was the most drastic one outside of Leclerc, that went from 2-1 down to even money. So, and then Hamilton was also plus like 125 or 135. Now it's plus 150. I actually nibbled already on Leclerc top three. Goes back to my thesis around Ferrari and how they've been undervalued a little bit. So I already nibbled at the 2-1 top three. Personally, I don't like betting top three. I feel like, especially when I looked at last year, I don't think I was as successful in like top three betting just because of how volatile it can be. Especially if we're seeing the teams close in, it's going to be kind of tough. And I am also worried about their, Mercedes being behind if they have really good race trim. But that being said, I am eyeing Leclerc odds. I will be very interested to see what comes out from like a qualifying perspective for Ferrari, and I will keep an open mind. Like, I will look into Alonso and all that. But that being said, I'm going to tread lightly this week. I want to see the cars actually start, really putting the car together for Park Fermé. So meaning by FP2 we should get a good read.
Yeah, oh yeah. I like, usually, unless it's a free money Friday pick from Tegrity or some other guys in the Discord, I don't touch anything until after qualifier. Or I might nibble into qualifying, but I like to see where things are going, how teams are, drivers and teams are performing before I place any bets. Okay, well, and yeah, another thing I wanted to mention is I know that we're gonna be really heavy this year on Grid Rival Fantasy. If you're into DFS and Fantasy and Pick'ems, get in Grid Rival. We have a league there, started last year. You will find a link to sign up for the league. It is free to join the league. You will find it in the Discord. You could find it on the socials as well, on the Twitter at F1 Money Gang. So if you're into DFS, I know the Capper is gonna be talking about it later on with one of our DFS fantasy gurus, Garrett, who is also part of the Discord and part of our group. And you want to give us a little tease when you might be talking, when you might have a podcast out for that?
I don't know, but we are talking about trying to get a regular cadence, hoping we can try to get one out before the week, and we can get his stuff. But this is going to be some fun stuff, right? Like, we want to try to drive a little bit more fantasy and DFS exposure and pick'ems, right? Like,
yep.
Pick'ems is I've really started to enjoy, especially after Grid Rivals has started theirs. So yeah.
Yeah, I know that Garrett's gonna be focusing on the giving us early looks at drivers, teams, and stuff. So I'm really excited about it as well because I personally play on DraftKings because I did not have access to Grid Rivals, but now actually I do. So I joined the league too. So I was able to register and join. So I'm in the league for the F1 Money Gang. So I'm excited, and I guess we will close it with that. And I hope we all have a great season. I hope this is one of the first and many podcasts that we're gonna go back into and say what a weekend we had cashing tickets and what a great race. We just want to have fun race as well, not only for the betting side. So
Oh yeah.
so all right guys, well, it was nice talking to you, man, and we'll see you later.
Yep. See you guys.